The day my mother died, my girlfriend Emily was in a hurry to marry my illegitimate younger brother Michael. I blamed her for making it even harder for me on that day. She slapped me straight in the face. "Your mother did a lot of bad things. She made Michael's mother sick. This is her retribution. Michael's mother has already suffered a lot. I can't let her go before she sees her son get married. You should also apologize to Michael's mother for your mother. Emily once said it herself. People who destroy other people's families and those who betray their lovers deserve to die. Now, she abandoned me for the mistress's bastard child and abandoned our dream of a family. As I watched her resolute back, I called Médecins Sans Frontières. Hello, I accept the previous invitation. What's in the past is in the past. This land. There is nothing left for me to cling to. Before my mother was pushed into the cremator, my uncle asked if I wanted to wait for Emily. He said, "Your mother loved Emily the most. She kept talking about her before she died. You should let her see her one last time." I touched my red and swollen face. It was still a little warm. Emily had just hit me. She wasn't coming at this time. She should have already been at the civil affairs office with Michael. No need, just cremate her. I close my eyes. Tears keep flowing. I want to say the words calmly, but my voice trembles uncontrollably. I feel like drowning. Breathing becomes difficult. It feels like the whole world is spinning, upside down. My heart feels heavy, as if it is about to shatter into pieces. Okay. The family member signs. I hastily sign, watching my mother being pushed into the cremator. These days, tears have numbed my heart. I thought I had already experienced the deepest pain, but now I still feel the pain, more intensely than ever. It's like a knife stirring in my heart, stirring up bloody mess. From now on I will be alone. My mother has been planning my wedding to Emily since the beginning of the year. She is full of enthusiasm, but I don't have a clue. I have discussed this many times with Emily, begging her to at least pretend, to go through with the wedding, so as to ease my mother's mind, even if we were on the surface, but not in our hearts. I didn't want to make my mother suffer in her final moments in high school. Emily told me she hated people who destroyed other people's families, and said she would protect me, but after we went to college, she and Michael grew closer and closer. Even though he was my father's illegitimate son, she took his side and stood against me. She became the one who abandoned me and gave up our dream family. Neither my mother nor I were able to keep the people we loved. My mother was tortured by my father for more than 10 years. In the end, she died of anger. I have been entangled with Emily for 10 years. In the end, we parted. I bent down, shrunk into a ball, as if this could alleviate the pain in my heart. "John, you are so useless." Ever since Emily met Michael, my mother and I always fought with her. She slowly felt that my mother and I were the cause of my father's unhappiness. She believes that the one who is not loved is the third party, and she also thinks that Michael is not at fault at all. "John, Michael's background is not something he can choose. He is innocent. Why do you hate him?" But when my mother was hospitalized, he even unplugged her oxygen tube. When my mother had a heart attack, he even put his arm around my father's neck and pretended that the family was happy. What's even worse is that he showed my mom intimate photos of him and Emily. It directly made my mom die of anger. There are so many of these things. I no longer want to recall them. Now that my mom is gone, I should let go of these things too on this land. There is no one left for me to care about. The past 10 years, let's just say I've wasted them. I called the Médecins Sans Frontières organization. I said, "Hello, this is John. I accept the previous invitation." "Great, Dr. John. Thank you for your efforts for world peace. Can you go to the Middle East war zone in 3 days?" "Yes, I've been putting it off for a month. I need to go soon. My mentor is with Médecins Sans Frontières. He showed me the cruelty of war. I heard the moans of the patients. I saw the severed limbs in the hospital, and the infected and suppurating wounds. This is the path I should take, just as I swore in the Hippocratic Oath. No matter where I go, whether I meet a man or a woman, a powerful person or a servant, my only goal is to do what is best for the patient. What's more, my mentor is already over 50 years old, and he is still fighting in the Middle East for his duty. How can I be tied down by these emotions and neglect other people's lives? While I was sorting through the data at home, I ran into Emily. She was smiling and seemed very happy. Behind her, the glass door reflected my pale, hopeless face. "Why are you making such a sad face?" She angrily put the marriage certificate in the drawer and glared at me. She frowned and said, "I told you, this is just a formality. Michael and I are doing this to reassure your aunt. If your mother hadn't kept interfering between your aunt and uncle, your aunt wouldn't have gotten sick. You don't want to make up for your mother's mistakes. Now you want to help her continue to make them." I looked at her happy face. A sudden taste of blood welled up in my mouth. I swallowed hard. At that moment, I felt the most unbearable feeling in my life. I tried to calm down and said to Emily, "Today is the day my mother passed away. I don't want to argue with you about who is right and who is wrong about Michael, and I don't want to know any news about their family. Please understand. Don't say anything else. This is the first time I've ever begged someone, ever since my father had an affair and brought the other woman home, and I saw how sad and helpless my mother was. I made up my mind that I would never give in to anyone in my life. I would stand up for myself, and I would make my mother proud. Right now, I really can't take it anymore. I'd rather admit defeat. I just hope she'll let me off the hook." Emily grabbed the vase next to her and threw it at me with all her strength. The vase shattered on my shoulder. Glass splinters flew everywhere. One of them grazed my eye. Emily saw the blood around my eye. She felt a little guilty, but for Michael's sake she scolded me anyway. "What do you think you're doing with that face? It's for your mother. Can't anyone have any peace? I've been saying it for a long time. She's the source of all our misfortune. She's ruined 2 families." I forced a smile and said, "Emily, Michael is 5 months younger than me. My father had an affair with a third party while my mother was pregnant. When my mother gave birth, they even flaunted it on purpose. As a result, my mother suffered heavy bleeding. You say, who exactly destroyed these 2 families?" Before I could finish my sentence, Emily gave me a hard slap. My head tilted, and a bloody taste welled up in my mouth. Blood dripped down the corner of my mouth. Emily stared at me coldly. "That was just your mother's ploy to keep your uncle. John, are you trying to pretend to be angry and spit blood, just like your mother? Playing these tricks? You think this will keep me?" She finished, turned around and slammed the door behind her. I was left sitting in a mess of a room. I silently wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, allowing myself to sink into despair. My heart was burning like it was being roasted in a fire. Why did I love her? Love an accomplice who caused my mother's death. Love someone who abandoned me in my dream of a family. Love someone who confounds right and wrong and ignores the truth. The pain in my heart now is my punishment. I brought this on myself. "John, you deserve this." The phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I picked it up. A kind voice came from the other end. "Oops, Zio Ewan, aren't you tired? Your face is red from the cold. Michael didn't even bother to wrap a scarf around you." Emily said happily, "Mom, I didn't tell Michael to wrap a scarf around me. You and Michael are not in good health. You need to pay more attention." "Mom, John's mother passed away today. You and Dad can now officially get married. No one will say that Michael is a bastard anymore. Dad, Mom, you can finally be together in peace." "No one can stop you now," Michael said, "but John may be sad. Do you want me to go and keep him company? He isn't worth it." "Michael, I bought a family photo package. Let's go and take one with Auntie and Uncle." "A family photo? It means happiness for the whole family. How nice." I listened blankly, my eyes fixed on the photo on the wall. It only had Mum and me in it. There was an empty space next to Mum. That was a month ago, when her health suddenly improved. She insisted on taking a photo with me. "John, Mum always felt sorry for you. Since you were little, I haven't been able to give you a complete family. In the future, you and Emily must live a good life. Let's take a family photo with Emily. This is our family photo. From now on, you and Mum both have a family." That day, we waited at the photo studio from opening time until almost closing time. Emily never showed up. My mum had to take my photo first, leaving a space for Emily, saying she'd add her later using Photoshop. But what's added using Photoshop is fake. Just like the fact that Emily and I are still together is fake. I let out a scream of pain and slammed my fist into the photo. My hand immediately starts bleeding from the shards. I don't care about that. I throw myself onto my mother's photo and cry my heart out. Mum, now I'm all alone. I have no home. Even you're gone. I'm all alone now. My phone suddenly rang. It was the hospital department. I picked up the phone. My colleague Sophia said anxiously, "Brother John, just now, Emily brought your father and that woman to our department. They said they want to take your hospital bed. The examination report shows that hospitalization is not necessary." I heard something break on the floor. Emily immediately yelled, "Don't talk nonsense. They are a legal couple. John's mother is the one who came between them." She snatched the phone and shouted at John, "John, are you human? Over such a trivial matter, you and your colleagues lied to my aunt, saying her condition was not serious. You are as heartless as your mother." I vaguely heard something break. Everything around me started spinning. My heart was in agony. My head was splitting. It felt like the whole world had turned upside down. The moment I fell, I understood. It turned out that what had broken was my heart. When I opened my eyes, I was already in a hospital bed. Sophia saw that I was awake. She quickly called the nurse to examine me. She said, "Brother John, you scared me. If I hadn't heard you fall, I would have insisted on going to find you. You almost had an accident at home. What happened to me?" I tried to stand up. Sophia quickly came over to help me. "You fainted because you were emotionally overwhelmed and tired. Brother John, you can't be subjected to any more shocks." Suddenly, the ward door was kicked open. Emily walked in with Michael, like a proud rooster, staring at me. I said, "Why do you keep calling your colleague Auntie? So it turns out you're having an affair." "John, are you going to let this colleague go on and say that I'm sick and passed out and can't get up?" Sophia put herself in front of me, saying, "Don't say anything. Brother John's body can't take any more excitement. You'd better go." Michael walks over and grabs Emily. "Emily, don't worry. Brother John didn't mean it. It's fine." He suddenly leans over. The millet porridge in his hand spills all over me. It's so hot that my skin immediately turns red. "Brother John, I really didn't mean it. Don't be angry. I'm sorry. I just saw that you hadn't eaten. That's why I brought millet porridge to see you." Emily immediately stepped in front of Michael. She said to John, "You're a big man. Don't be so petty. It's not a big deal. I'll tell you what. Auntie definitely needs to be admitted to the hospital today. Hurry up and go through the formalities." I closed my eyes. I didn't look at her. Emily grunted and said, "John, look what this is." I turned my head and looked. It was the bracelet my mother gave her. It was my mom's most treasured bracelet. "Give it to me." I reached out to grab it. Emily quickly pulled her hand back. "You want it? Then use your quota to get Auntie admitted to the hospital." I took a deep breath. My heart was burning with anger, but this was my mom's favorite bracelet. "I'll handle it." My voice was hoarse. It sounded like I was crying. I looked at myself in the wardroom mirror. My eyes were red. I looked like a drowned rat. My heart ached like it had been cut with a knife. My head was spinning. "Mum, I'm sorry, but I really want to remember you, Mum. I miss you so much." After the formalities were completed, Emily was about to give me the bracelet. Michael took it from her before she could. He said in surprise, "This is really a treasure." He handed the bracelet to me, but before I could reach out to take it and let go, the bracelet fell to the ground. It shattered. He said in alarm, "Brother John, the bracelet is broken. What are we going to do now, Michael?" I rushed over. Emily and Michael immediately held me down. Michael whispered in my ear, "John, you are worse than your mother. You can't even keep her belongings. How pathetic." I was furious. I clenched my teeth around his shoulder. My heart was filled with resentment. Why did he have to denigrate my mother like that? Why did he have to do that to her? Why did he have to do that to me? Then, Emily hit me hard on the back of the head. "John, you let go of Michael." I fell to the ground. My heart was filled with despair. I watched them walk away. Kneeling, I moved over. I picked up the pieces of the bracelet. I held it tightly, as if that would keep my mother with me, as if she was still here with me. "Mom, I'm so useless. I'm so sorry." I wished Michael would disappear. I hated my incompetent father, and that woman who destroyed other people's families, even Emily. But now, I couldn't even keep your bracelet. I'm so useless. I spent the whole day in the hospital with Roman 4. The wound has been treated. I contacted Uncle to help sell the house my mother left me. I'd already packed Emily's things and sent them to Michael. There were no financial issues between Emily and me. The house belonged to my mother. We had lost contact a long time ago. 10 years had passed. Nothing was left. Uncle quickly found a buyer. He told me to go through the transfer process tomorrow, the third day. After the transfer was complete, I went home with my mentor to get my luggage. When I opened the door, I was surprised to find Emily standing there. She stretched. She had obviously slept well. She showed no remorse. When she saw me with my suitcase ready to leave, she frowned and asked, "What are you doing disappearing? John, can't you do it the decent way, without being a jerk?" I shook off her outstretched hand. "Your things have already been packed and sent to Michael," I said. "The house has been sold. We have no financial ties anymore. Michael, don't talk nonsense. From now on, I have nothing to do with you. It's true that Michael and I got married, but I didn't say I don't want you. Where are you going?" Emily felt a little panicky. It felt like she had lost something. She shook her head, thinking to herself, how could John leave her? It's just her own fear. She gained confidence again. Looking at me as I walked out the door, said sarcastically, "You'd better never come back. I definitely won't forgive you." The teacher looked at me with concern. I smiled at him. "Teacher, don't worry, I'm fine. The past is like the wind drifting in the air. My mother is dead, this land. No one else is on my mind." Before boarding the plane, I saw that I had 99 missed calls on my phone, all from Emily. The WeChat messages were also 99. I never thought it would be like this. It's been a long time since she left a message in our chat box. I take out the SIM card, break it in half, throw it in the airport trash can. I have to move on. I shouldn't keep anything from the past. Emily waits at home all day. Her phone turns off automatically when the battery is empty. She charges it and keeps calling until it turns off again. John doesn't reply, nor does she reply on WeChat. This had never happened before. Her heart grew increasingly uneasy. John's face kept popping up in her mind. The sadness in his eyes when he begged her to see my mother's body. The disbelief in his face after she slapped him. The despair in his eyes when he held the broken bracelet in the hospital. When John left, his eyes were as calm as a pool of stagnant water. There was no fluctuation. That look made people feel that nothing could move them anymore. No, this can't be. John must be pretending. Emily thought to herself, how could John leave her? They had known each other since high school. They had been together for 10 years. They had vowed to be together forever. Even though she and Michael had had such a falling out in college, John was still with her. He was just helping Michael get a marriage license to appease his aunt. Why couldn't John understand? Why does he have to hold on to the grudges of the previous generation? When someone dies, it's like a light going out. Why does he have to keep arguing about his mother? Can't he be more generous? Forget it. When John comes back, I'll go comfort him. Emily sighed. Her unease eased slightly. She recalled their past. Her heart grew more and more certain. How could John leave Emily? He so longed for a family. How could he give her up? And their home. Day 4. The door was suddenly knocked on. Emily gave a satisfied smile. She had long known John could never leave her this time. As long as he said a few kind words, she would forgive him. She opened the door and found Uncle John and a group of unfamiliar people standing outside. The smile on her face froze in an instant. She asked, "What is the matter?" The person in charge frowned and held the property ownership certificate in front of her. "We're here to take possession of the house. The house has already been transferred. Didn't you know?" Emily suddenly remembered what John had said before he left. She turned her head stiffly and said to my uncle, "Uncle, why are you messing around with John and bringing people to put on a show, making such a big deal of it?" My uncle frowned and said, "What show, Zairo? He has already sold the house. He also said that all your things have been sent to Michael." I said, "Uncle, stop acting. I forgive John. I'm not going to mess with him anymore." Emily's heart grew more and more uneasy. She suddenly remembered my calm eyes. She felt a huge wave of panic, seeing those people go around her to move the furniture. She truly realized that John had already left. How could that be? How could John leave Emily? She rushed in to stop them. She shouted in a broken voice, "Stop pretending. I understand you want me to apologize to John. I'll apologize to him right now. Please let him out." Her uncle pushed her out the door. "No need to apologize. You have nothing to do with our Zio. Didn't you already get a marriage certificate with Michael? You two are a couple. Stay out of my family's business." Emily wanted to explain, but the words stuck in her throat. She had already married Michael, but that wasn't what she wanted to say. It wasn't that she didn't want John. She just felt sorry for Michael. He had grown up in an incomplete family. She felt that John owed Michael. John's mother also owed Michael's mother. She just wanted to help them make up for this debt. How did things turn out like this? Emily was unable to stop her uncle. She rushed straight to the hospital. She stopped Sophia and asked, "Where did John go? Did you hide him?" Emily had been looking for John for 2 days. She had searched everywhere, but John had disappeared. Then it suddenly occurred to her. He had gone with his mentor. John must be at the hospital. Sophia looked at her with contempt. "What do you want with John? Your husband is there." Sophia pointed with her mouth in the direction of Michael's room. She said, "You'd better hurry. They're anxious to be discharged today. You'll be busy enough." "Why do they have to be discharged? Is John angry with me? Is he going to come find me?" Emily's heart filled with hope again. As long as John is still angry with her, it means he still has feelings for her. She is sure she can coax John back. But Sophia gave a cold laugh. "Angry? Why is brother John angry? He resigned. He has no place in the hospital from now on. You guys should hurry up and check out of the hospital." After saying that, he shook off Emily and left. Emily stood there. Her heart was full of doubts. How could it be? John loved being a doctor so much. Why would he resign? She walked dazedly towards Michael's family's room. Suddenly, she heard a voice coming from inside. She froze. "Michael, you're still the smart one. Now your father and I can finally get what we want. How is this my doing? It's all John's fault. He's so stupid when it comes to women. He picked the wrong one. I just made up some lies and she believed them. What a fool." Emily felt her blood rush to her head. What did Michael mean? Was he making things up? She had been kept in the dark. She had been lied to from beginning to end. And what about John? Emily stood still. Her heart filled with panic. She couldn't accept the truth. She thought about all the things she had done to John when she and Michael got married. She heard the promise she had made to John ringing in her ears. "I especially hate people who destroy other people's families. John, I will do my best to protect you. I will never let you become like your mother." What had she done? Emily rushed into the hospital room like a madwoman. She slapped Michael twice. Her eyes red, she yelled, "Michael, what have you done?" Michael immediately understood what had happened. He sneered. He hadn't done anything. He had just stolen John's woman. That had infuriated John and his mother. Emily rushed up to hit him, but Michael's mother kicked her away. Emily couldn't believe it as she watched Michael's mother in perfect health. She asked in disbelief, "You're not sick?" Michael's mother responded lightly. Michael's mother had always been in poor health. She had been sick almost every day. Michael had mentioned it to Emily before, told her to go and see for herself. At the time, she had completely believed Michael and thought John was lying. What had she done? She sneered at John, said he only knew how to use underhanded tactics, that he was a habitual liar and had a bad attitude. Emily felt unsteady, her eyes fixed on Michael. "How could you do this to John?" Michael sneered. "Why shouldn't I do this to him? He stole my place. He and his mother should give way to us." He leaned closer to Emily. Smirking, he whispered, "Emily, don't pretend to be affectionate here. Think about how you treated John. You really outdid yourself this time. I've never seen John like that. It was almost over." What did she do to John? Emily fell. What did she do? She went to see Sophia again, without saying a word, and fell to her knees in front of Sophia. Sophia was so shocked that she flinched away. "What are you doing?" Emily clung to Sophia's leg. She pleaded, "Please, tell me where John went. I have to find him, please." She was crying bitterly. "I've wronged him. I have to make it up to him. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to him. Just tell me." Sophia sighed. She picked up her phone. She went to the news page. MSF rushes to the battlefields in the Middle East. Emily felt weak. She slumped to the ground. John has gone to the battlefield. John was always such a good person. He was gentle with everyone, like the sun. He wanted to warm everyone. He was willing to do anything to save others, just like before. When Emily was bullied at school, it was John who came to her rescue. He got the teacher to testify and stayed by her side and helped her through the difficult time. If it wasn't for John, Emily probably wouldn't have been able to survive the bullying in high school. But then, she almost drove John to the brink of despair. Emily was at a loss for words. Facing my decision, she was at a loss for words. She could only blame herself. She couldn't blame anyone else. She wanted to go to John's mother's grave, cry and admit her fault and beg for forgiveness. However, she didn't even know where John's mother was buried. That day, John had knelt down and begged her, but she had slapped him and gone off with Michael to get married. Emily stood there dumbfounded, mumbling to herself. "Emily, you're not human." Sophia sighed and said, "I knew this would happen. Why did you do it?" He turned and walked away when I first started with MSF. I cried almost every day. War is much more horrible than I thought. People who were just alive are gone in an instant. The wounded I saved in the morning were killed in the afternoon by shelling. I often wondered if what I was doing was meaningful. I saved them, but did I just let them wait for death and pain? My mentor took my hand firmly and showed me the children I had saved. "John, if you hadn't saved him, he would have died from an infection or blood loss. At best, he would have had to have his leg amputated. But you came, he survived. And he has all 4 limbs, John. You can't save everyone at once. But with each life you save, the world becomes a little better." I grew stronger. I grew more mature in the midst of the war. Sometimes I think about my problems with Emily. It feels like a long time ago. How could I have been like that? My 3rd year in the Middle East. I happened to bump into Sophia. She had just had an operation. She was sitting in a chair resting. Her hair was soaked with sweat. She smiled at me and called out, "Brother John, why are you here? You're the only one who can come." She looked at me with a smile. "Brother John, I want to go with you in the hospital. You have always been my role model. You rushed to the battlefield to save lives. This makes me admire you even more. I want to walk side by side with you." I avoided the implication in her words. I just told her to be careful. Sophia improved quickly. Later, she was assigned to be my assistant. We rushed through the war together. We experienced life and death. We also shared the joy of victory. We are inseparable. We will never be apart. In the 5th year, Sophia handed me a bracelet. This bracelet is the one that Michael broke before. It has been processed with gold and jade. Now it looks even more noble, Brother John. I quietly sent it back to China. I helped you repair it. I want to repair not only the bracelet, but also your heart. These 2 years we have lived and died together. We have never been apart. I understand you, and you understand me. I promise you, I will never leave you. Not even if war breaks out. Our lives are bound together. Brother John, will you accept me?" Her eyes sparkled, as if time had stopped. I could only hear my own heartbeat. "But I have a past. Brother John, I don't care if you ask me what I think of your past. I just feel heartache. I just want to hug you after a long while." I slowly spoke, I promise. She hugged me happily. Our hearts were close together. At that moment, our hearts beat in unison. In the 7th year, the war finally came to an end. Our mission was complete. Everyone began to go home. Sophia and I decided to get married in the Middle East. We stood in the city that had just experienced war, surrounded by collapsed walls and ruins. We looked at each other, in the eyes of our mentor and other MSF workers. We listened as the priest asked, "Groom, you take this woman to be your wife according to the vows you have made, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, to love, to comfort, to honor and to protect. Do you promise to be faithful to her all your life, and never to forsake her?" I said, my voice trembling. "I do, bride. You take this man to be your husband, and to join hands with him in marriage, in sickness and in health, in poverty and in wealth, in good looks and in plain looks, in good times and in bad times. You want to love him, care for him, respect him and protect him." Sophia put her arms around my neck. Without hesitation, she answered, "I do. I will be faithful to him for the rest of my life." She hugged me tightly and said, "Just as I took the Hippocratic oath." This promise will never change. It will stay with me for the rest of my life. Amid the blessings of the rescued patients, we embraced tightly, bound together by life and death, never to be separated. Mom, can you see? I finally have my own family. I'm no longer alone. After returning to China, Sophia and I returned to our old hospital to continue working. On the day I resumed seeing patients, I met Emily. 7 years had passed. She had changed a lot. She looked at me, her eyes filled with remorse. She said, "John, I'm finally seeing you again." Emily tried to come over and take my hand. I avoided her. "Emily, I told you, we're not together anymore." "No, we're not finished." Emily hurriedly pulled 2 documents out of her bag. "Look, this house, you sold it before. We used to live here together. I bought it back. And this is my divorce certificate. John, Michael and I are divorced. He cheated on me. He tried to drive a wedge between us. I was so stupid. I believed his lies. And I treated you like that." Emily kept talking. I just sighed. "Emily, our relationship is over. I was in the Middle East for 7 years. I occasionally thought about us. I can't believe I tortured myself like that. You caused me so much pain. I almost gave my life for you, but Emily, I have risen again, through my work. In helping others, I have found a new meaning in life." I showed her the wedding ring on my finger. It was specially made for Sophia and me by a patient I saved in the Middle East. I said, "I have also found a partner with whom I can spend my life. Emily, if you truly know that you have made a mistake, don't come looking for me again. I never want to see you again." Emily could hardly stand, her eyes fixed on my wedding ring, and suddenly she smiles. It's a bitter, painful smile. "Yes, I shouldn't have come back to you. I hurt you so much. And I still had the nerve to expect you to put everything aside, to be with me again. How naive of me." She left the property deed. "Your mother bought the house. It's also your memory. Now I'm giving it to you as a wedding gift, and I'm sorry to you and your aunt." Later, when Sophia and I went to see the house, she noticed the family photo on the wall which was missing a person. "John, why is there a missing person here?" "My mom." Emily didn't come at that time. "My mom wanted to leave a space, go up there later, leave a memento for me." Sophia grabbed my hand and said, "John, put me up there. We are a family that will never be apart." I gently pressed against her forehead and said, "No matter life or death, we will never be apart."